Taking a deep breath in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. On the next inhale, just scanning the body from head to toe, feeling the points of contact with the floor or the chair. And then just checking in with the mind, noting what's there, recognizing it, accepting it, maybe investigating it, and then non-identification, letting go. So putting any worries or concerns aside while we practice this Mindful Monday session. Setting our intention to get present to the obstacles on the path so we can overcome them and further our mindfulness practice to enlightenment. Taking a deep breath in and breathing out. So, welcome to Mindful Mondays. This session happens every Monday, UK time, 6 o'clock. You're welcome to join the live class as well that tackles different subjects every week. So we're continuing to set the foundations of mindfulness. So with this session, what we're going to do is understand the obstacles on the path. And then we're going to explore the 5 hindrances and the antidotes for those hindrances. And then a reminder on the framework to overcome those hindrances. And a short meditation on that too. So let's take a moment to think about what exactly are the obstacles on the path. So you can relate this to any project that you have. Let's say that you're into project management and there is a goal. And then to get to that goal, there's certain things that happen along the way that may deter the drive to get to that goal. So it's the same thing that we're looking at here in terms of our goal to perfect the practice, to actually become enlightened. So let's start with this, because this really brings us down to earth, because there's no easy path. If you can find a path with no obstacles, it probably doesn't lead anywhere. And this is true. This is so true. You can think about this, how it relates to your life. If you want to get to the ideal relationship, then it's not just going to be laid out and you can just walk that path with no obstacles. No, things are going to come up along the way. And it's how we look at those things as part of the practice, because it's all a journey. So mindfulness has the quality of not forgetting what is in front of the mind. It creates this stability of awareness and keeps bringing us back to the present moment. And this is the key aspect of mindfulness, is this remembering. It keeps us safe from being distracted by sense pleasures through the sixth sense doors. So let's look at some of the obstacles on the path. Wow, some of these you may relate to, some you may not. I can actually share with you that all of these at some point have been obstacles and still are in some respects. So we start with ignorance, and this is ignorance of not knowing. So that's why we're covering our eyes up. It's just not knowing. You're just not aware of what you're doing. You're not aware of the consequences of what you do. And that's ignorance. It may be not setting intentions, so you don't know where you want to go. So how are you going to get there? It may be lack of investigation into the mind and compromising and rationalization. Oh yeah, I've always been like that. That's life. That's how life is. This is rationalization at play. You may be in the too busy mode, too busy-itis, as one of the comedians pointed out. Too busy to do yoga, too busy to get to meditate, too busy because I have to get my latte and then from Starbucks, then I have to go to get on a Zoom call with my boss, and then I have to do this and then I have to do that. Too busy, too busy, too busy. Too busy-itis. That can get in the way. Who doesn't have 5 minutes where you can sit and meditate? You have to create it. Ego and the 5 hindrances. Wow, big one. Ego, the I gets in the way. The ever intruding self getting in the way. It's not fair. Why me? No. Why has she got this and I haven't got that? Why has she got a lovely family and I haven't got a lovely family? These are all things that get in the way of the practice. Lack of practice and focus. Yeah, there we are. We've got the brain building the muscles. It's exactly the same as going to the gym. We spend a lot of time going to the gym, working the body out, but how much time do we spend on the mind? And the mind is what's causing most of the issues. But we know this, but we don't want to believe what we know. Again, ignorance comes in. So it's about taking it on, doing the practice. You have to do the work. Nothing comes for free. No such thing as a free lunch, so they say. It's true. Being too hard and on yourself and impatient. Why do you think it should come just like that? We live in a world, okay, we can click on the mouse, one click Amazon, and it comes. Doesn't come one click meditation and you become enlightened. Maybe it does. If you know someone that has done one click enlightenment, let me know. But don't be too hard on yourself. The nature of the mind is to wander. It is the nature of the mind. So when you're sitting and you're meditating and your mind wandering, it's not that you're not doing it properly. The facts are you are doing it properly when you notice it and then bring it back. So let's not be hard on ourselves. We can be so cruel, this internal dialogue, criticizing over and over again. Let's be patient with ourselves and kind. More love, less hate. Being overconfident, something else that stops us in our tracks. Because when we know, there's no possibility for not knowing. So we can put ourselves out as the expert, but then that limits the possibilities. So bringing a beginner's mind to everything we do is a much better attitude to have on this practice. Over-striving, wanting to know more. Yes, we're going to get that book. Oh, well, then we get another book. Crikey, how many books have I got? Loads of books, Audible books, physical books. It gets to a point when maybe you don't need to know anymore. It's about applying it to your life. Addictions. So addictions to substances, chemicals, just take us away from the practice. How can we be mindful when we've drunk alcohol? It's not possible. Negative thoughts and confusion. So getting into these negative thought loops, as we've already discussed, can just take time and it drains your energy, and that can stop you. That's an obstacle on the path to keep going this perpetual cycle. And confusion. Confusion can sometimes be positive things, because when it is confusing, you search for answers and it becomes clearer. But it's about believing in yourself. Change your belief patterns and start getting rid of the limiting beliefs and putting positive ones in place. Final one, lack of motivation and laziness. So motivation is key. You're here, you're listening to this, you have some motivation, you want to know, you have a desire. So the drive system is in play. You want to know. Why do you want to know? Maybe because you're fed up with this suffering. Maybe you've had enough of discontent in your life and you want to learn. So when we get present to benefits of doing what we do, that can give us the motivation to continue. Laziness, this sloth and torpor, which is, oh, meditate tomorrow. Yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow may not come. And that's what you've got to ask yourself. Are you ready? If tomorrow doesn't come, are you ready? Have you done what you need to do? So laziness is just a state of mind. So all those different things there, you may have noticed some of them that you have, but they're not blocking the path. They are the path. Because when you start to look and you start to see, oh, there's that, and you start to unravel what it is, then you can be free. But there's plenty of defense mechanisms at play. And these defense mechanisms come up when we're learning anything new. It's not just meditation. They're just synonymous to anything. So if you can identify which ones of yours, then you can break this down in other things as well. So repression, where we're pressing things down. Denial. No, that's not me. That's not me. No. Projection, you're projecting onto others. Displacement, moving things, displacing the real reason why you're restless. Rationalization, justifying, validating the mind. Oh yeah, that you're right. Oh yeah, I'm right because of this. Yeah. Compensation. So compensating for things. Oh, I'm not getting love here, so I'll get love from there. Reaction, formations in our mind, mental formations, reactive, impulse thinking, fantasy, delusion. Oh, I live in a world where all is lovely and everyone's lovely to each other and it's lovely. Yeah, okay, maybe, but it's not reality. You can only have fruitful relationships, reciprocal relationships, if you're living in a reciprocal society. If you're not, then that's not going to happen. That doesn't form the basis of relationships. So collaboration breaks down. This planet has animals, and animals eat other animals to survive. That is reality. So let's do a short meditation on some of the obstacles on the path. Just going to leave the slide up with those obstacles. Just get present to those obstacles. Okay. Coming back to the breath. Just scanning the body, head to toe, and just checking in with the mind. So take a moment to write down what those obstacles are. So you become aware of them as we go through the practice. So as Buddha taught meditation, and as he learnt meditation, he came across something called the 5 hindrances, which he describes in depth of what happened on his journey. And we might be able to relate to some of those. So what are the 5 hindrances? Let's just look at that. So number 1 is desire. So craving, clinging, or grasping. Number 2 is aversion. So this is kind of pushing away fear, anger, frustration, just not liking something. Sleepiness is the 3rd, sloth and torpor. So it's this heaviness and dullness of the mind. And then restlessness, which is a highly energized state of mind and body. So you may not be moving around, fidgeting, but you may be restless in the mind. And doubt, great indecision, not knowing which way to go, not knowing if this is the right practice for you. So let's look at each one in detail. So the first one, desire. So this craving and this clinging and this grasping. So it's just give an example. You can give an example with food. As soon as the sense doors opens, you see something, chocolate, you want it, and it goes quickly to that behavior. Now the antidotes to desire are kind of looking at recognizing what you can and can't control. Then it's about the practice of letting go, practice generosity and kindness, of giving as opposed to taking, cultivating gratitude, and just simplifying your life. Separate your needs from your wants. So desire is what leads you through life until the time comes when you desire a higher life. So do not be ashamed that you want so much, yet at the same time, do not fool yourself into thinking that what you want today will be enough tomorrow. Thank you to Deepak for that one. Number 2, aversion. So hate, fear, anger, but it could be just down to irritation or boredom as well. It could be annoying sounds that come in when you're meditating. It could be fear of failure. So antidotes to aversion is shift your focus from anger to the suffering of the situation. So you can develop compassion. So all aggression arises from pain. So if there's someone out there that's hurt you or they've said something that's going to upset you, they've said it because they are in pain. They are suffering. So maybe just take a moment and think about what's actually going on in their world. And then we can practice compassion. It's not making it right or wrong or what they did. It's just about looking at the situation. Practice love and kindness meditation. It is a very powerful meditation. It's one that we're doing every weekday at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you're welcome to join to get the routine up. Cultivate empathy. So put yourself in the shoes of someone else. Recognize the disadvantages of fear, anger, and guilt in your life. When you get present to the disadvantages, you won't want to do it anymore. But this is key to understand. Hatred can never be ceased by hatred. The law of karma exists. Every action has a consequence. There is a reaction. This is the law of cause and effect. Let's look at hindrance 3, sleepiness. So sloth and torpor, heaviness or dullness in the mind. You might be falling asleep during meditation. You might be too lazy to meditate. I think there's other things going on. So the antidotes to this is not to make it your enemy. Recognize that the body needs sleep to function. Ensure you prepare yourself for the meditation practice, which we're going to discuss in the next episode, is about the body budget and self-compassion. Note it rising and falling. Note it when it happens. Focus on the breath, and remember, concentration gives you the power. Hindrance 4, restlessness. So highly energized state of body and mind. So the mind does wander, which is its natural state, but it might be wandering a lot, too much. You might want to be getting up, wandering around. It might not be just doable. So the antidotes to this is accepting it, understanding it, and that getting present that it's an energetic imbalance. So within the chakras, the 7 chakras, there is an imbalance in some area. Harness the energy, ground it, channel it back in so you can use it. Simplify your experience, come back to the senses, feel the breath, get present to the body. So walking meditation is a great antidote for this. And that's, again, another practice we do on Tuesday mornings. Hindrance 5, doubt. Great indecision. The doubting mind is the one that runs all over the place. So you don't know which way to go. This way, that way. It's non-commitment. You're not committed to the practice. You say you meditate, but you don't. You have risks, you don't know where it's going. You don't know where mindfulness is going to lead you. Maybe you haven't set an intention. So it results in just staying where you are. So the antidotes to this is sustaining attention, connecting with what is going on, and breaking it down into manageable chunks. So setting that intention and milestones along the way. Put a framework in place. Recognize doubt and see it as doubt and see how limiting it is. I think in Tai Chi, there's this move where you've got basically a side move. You're standing one leg on one side, one leg on the other, and you're grounded. This is what doubt does. You can't move forward and you can't move back. You're stuck. Got one foot here and one foot there. So let go of it. Have some faith put in the practice. So educate yourself. Go out there and look. Research into this practice. Research on what others have found. Listen to Dhamma talks. And get to that clear comprehension, which is the clearly seeing, clearly knowing, and be open to learning. First, you have to accept doubt completely, not indulge in it, but go with it. This is essentially on the experience of faith. It's not a feeling, it's a willingness. So here's a little reminder for the framework for mindfulness. This is your meditation tool for all meditations. So recognize, acknowledge, investigate, non-identify. Believe in yourself and all that you are. Know that there is something inside you that is greater than any obstacle. Let's give it a go on the 5 hindrances so we can actually get present to what they are and how they come up. So taking a deep breath in and breathing out. On the next inhale, scanning the body and then checking in with the mind and just letting go, putting any worries or concerns aside while we practice this meditation on the 5 hindrances. Setting the intention to understand what the 5 hindrances are, how they show up, and how to overcome them. So the 5 hindrances are sense desire, ill will, aversion, sloth and torpor, sleepiness, restlessness and remorse, and doubt. These tend to show up in our early stages of meditation. It can be quite subtle and difficult to recognize, even for the experienced meditators. They can be seen as limiting the progress, not only in our meditation practice, but in our life, our daily life. When we start to look We can spot them lurking in the background behind life's challenges. If we use the sessions mindfully, they can become opportunities for growth and learning. So let's look at the makeup of them. So they can be negative mental states that disturb the mind during our practice. And they're difficult to spot in the early days because the mind is conditioned. We tend to dismiss our own faults and magnify our achievements. So, for example, in love and kindness, when we're bringing someone to mind that we've upset, we're holding a grudge, we may in the early stages say, well, there's no one I hold a grudge against. I don't upset anybody. No, I'm lovely. And it's a nice to have that view, but the reality is that we do upset people with one word or one action can cause irritation or an upset. So let's look at each one. So we can look at the individual characteristics behind each one. And putting ourselves in the role of the observer, we can start to see that they're impermanent because the first step is that they may be there, but then there may be times when they're not there. So there's an absence of the hindrance. And then putting ourselves into the observer, we can look at, well, let's look at the conditions that led to that arising. And then we can look at knowing the conditions that leads to removing that hindrance. And then finally, we can look to know the conditions which prevent it arising in the future. So let's look at sensory desire, so the senses. So this is the hindrance associated with craving and wanting, just to please the five senses. So it could be sights from our eyes, taste from our tongue, aromas from the noses, sounds from the ears, and bodily sensations. So it's not the pleasant feeling that causes the suffering. It's the impulse and reactions to them that cause the problem. So the simile used by the Buddha to describe the effect of sensory desire on our mind is to look at one's reflection in a bowl of water. When you've put coloured dyes into it, although we can see our own reflection, it is coloured by the dye. In the same way, sensory desires colour our perception and mental experiences. This is why in the early stages of a relationship, a romantic relationship, we experience the initial stages of being infatuated. We don't see the faults in the other person. And then 10 years down the line, you start to see the faults. But really, it's the reality. So you can look into just picking a moment of desire. Maybe it's craving with food. You can just pick one to mind and then bring that to the forefront. And just determine what's happening, what sense is it? Is it that you smell something and then it reacts to you? Do you smell coffee and you want the coffee? Or is it you see coffee and you want it? Or is it a thought you want it? So whatever it is, look at the factors in which it arises. So investigate this. And is it carelessly thinking about the coffee? So the factors, then consider what the factors are to remove it, the cure. Maybe it's to not have the coffee machine in sight if you're refraining from coffee. Maybe it's to remove the loyalty card from your wallet from the coffee. And then look at the factors which will prevent the reoccurrence. So when you have let yourself given into that desire or craving, then you can say, well, what gave in? What was it? Was it a thought of, doesn't really matter, got this COVID pandemic around, doesn't really matter what I eat or put in my body. I mean, could be dead tomorrow, so why not? Is that rationalization coming in? What's actually happening? And then you can look at that, untangle that belief and say, actually, no, this is a belief I don't want. It's hindering my progress with my diet. And I'm going to take that belief and change it for something else. Could be aversion to getting present to finances. Could be aversion to somebody, some person in your life. Now start to consider what's actually behind it. So what's going on? What's the situation? So what are the factors that are causing it to arise? And what's the cure? And what's the prevention? So is it the cure to do love and kindness meditation, to promote forgiveness and love to that other person? sometimes it's maybe guarding the senses and not reacting to things that that person says. Now moving on to, now let's look at sloth and torpor. So the primary cause of sloth and torpor could be careless attention to discontent, negative emotions, allowing them in, and being drained of those emotions by particular people, maybe toxic people. It might be just the sluggishness of the mind, not having enough sleep and looking after yourself. So then the antidote is to carefully look at 3 elements of energy: aroused effort and persistent effort, what's going on, and making sure that you get breaks, making sure that the body budget is running smoothly. So sleep is actually one of the most important things. It's as important as diet and exercise. So maybe it's going to bed a bit earlier, getting into that deep sleep, preparing yourself for sleep, doing yoga before you go to bed, maybe eating earlier so your digestion system isn't functioning as you go to bed, changing the environment, reducing the light in the bedroom, so no blue light. So these are some things you can look at. The next hindrance, restlessness. The primary cause of this is careless attention to the unsettled mind. And the primary antidote for this is careful attention to peace of mind. So noting when the mind is restless and using skills such as mindful breathing or meditation or yoga to calm the mind down. So surrounding yourself with a good support network, like-minded people to further your practice, listening to Dhamma talks. The final one is doubt. So the primary cause of this hindrance is careless attention to the things that you are a basis for doubt. And it's what you focus on. Whatever you focus on will appreciate, it will multiply. So careful attention is the antidote to contrasting whether your mental qualities are wholesome or unwholesome. Again, asking questions, furthering your practice, listening to dhammas, talks, and taking part in suitable conversation. So just pondering on those 5 hindrances and just noting that sometimes one may come up with the other. So there may be both a bit of restlessness, a bit of doubt at the same time. And then using the framework on them by recognizing them, accepting them, investigating them, and non-identifying with them. Coming back to the breath, taking a breath in and a breath out. Checking in with the mind. And just letting go. So take a time to think about what was your experience and what hindrances came up, and then just note the ones that came up and just look at the antidotes for them this week and start to practice the antidotes for them. So just finishing on this topic of the obstacles on the path, let's bring some gratitude to them, because it is about gratitude. Be grateful for the obstacles in your path because they've strengthened you as you continue the journey. If you look at all the situations in your life, you learn more from the suffering situations than you do from the ones that have been pleasant. So wishing you to continue the journey. If you have any questions, please get in touch. And here's the invitation to do the work. So meditate on the 5 hindrances, use the antidotes for those. You can look at the 10-finger gratitude exercise. So this is 10 things that you're grateful for, and just go through those as an antidote to fear. Use the framework, understand and research your obstacles on the path, and then just reward yourself for the courage that you have to come on this journey. Because sometimes we don't stop and reflect and say, actually, yeah, I'm doing it. I'm on the journey. And just reward yourself. Here's the resource list. Again, that will be in the introduction text for the video. And the next session's what we're going to look at. Please join the yoga community, the Satori Yoga community on Facebook, or follow us.